Hi everyone, it is 4 o'clock, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started so we can be cognizant of your time. Thank you for joining us for the MGA media training this afternoon. We just wanted to go over a couple of things with you all so you are well prepared for your roles next week when you come to Richmond for the Model General Assembly. So I hope you all can see the screen. If you can't see the screen, just let me know. I have most of you muted right now, I believe, just to cut down on background noise. But if you have a question at any time, you can unmute yourself to ask. Or over in the right-hand side, there is a chat function where you can type in questions if you have any questions or things that come up as we're going through the webinar. All right, so here's the agenda for what we're going to be doing. We're going to go through some introductions, make sure everybody is here who's supposed to be here. I know there were some people with conflicts, so we're recording this webinar for people who could not be here. Go over what the purposes and expectations are of you, go over your schedule, talk about some of the story ideas. I know Megan sent you several of those. Talk about your first story assignment, then talk about GroupMe, social media, and what to bring. All right, so I don't believe that Megan is on with us right now. Actually, Spencer, do you want to introduce yourself? I know you're out there.
Yes, my name is Spencer Snyder. I am the program director for the Virginia YMCA.
Yeah, so if you went to a workshop in the fall or in the spring, you probably saw Spencer. He was there running those workshops. So you'll see a lot of him next week as well. All right. So Megan, like I said, is going to be here. Oh, Spencer told me to introduce myself. I'm Sharon. I'm the executive director of the Virginia YMCA. So like I said, Megan will be here soon, I hope. Jackson, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, welcome. Thanks for being here. Hannah. All right, I see Hannah's name over there. So she is here. Rachel, are you here, Rachel? I don't see her name. Christine, I don't believe was able to be here. Morgan.
I'm here.
Right, Morgan is here. Thank you very much. Rosalind, are you here? Or Thomas from Bishop O'Connell? Nope. Chris Fowler. I see him over there. Nicole Howard. Michaela Johnson. Samantha from Turner Ashby. Kobe. Let's see. Keith Snipes.
Yes.
All right. And Tariq or Haley. Nope. All right. I know several of them had conflicts. So again, we'll have this recorded and we'll send it out to all of you this afternoon. All right, so just to go over some of the purpose of your role and the expectations, your job is to kind of be the eyes and ears of MGA and to report what's happening to everybody else. Because we are going to have 550 students and about 100 different adults around, it's hard for anybody to really know what's going on everywhere. We have 2 houses and 2 senates going on, in addition to a lobbying corps, and as well as our underclassmen legislature and our officers. So there are lots of different things going on throughout the entire weekend at MGA. So it's your job to gather all that information and bring it forward to everybody. Some years in the past, we've done a small printed newspaper, but we've moved more towards digital media. And we're going to be doing more blog posts and things like that. If we do choose to do a printed piece, it will be just very small number of articles that make the printed piece that we would give out on Friday. Your job is also to help update our social media. So Megan will be working with Spencer because Spencer has all the logins and all the things for our social media. So if you have things that you all want to go out over social media, you will talk to them and they will be the ones to actually put it out there on social media. We also would like for you all to take a lot of photos and videos because stories are great, but it's really good to have some sort of visuals to go along with it. So you can definitely take videos of things if they're, if you have some skills with making videos, that's great. If you're a good photographer, we'd love for you to take pictures, but even iPhone pictures are good. So we just want you to make sure you're getting visual stuff to go along with your stories. And we really expect you to be creative and kind of think outside of the box from some of the typical stories you might see. So we're definitely going to have stories on certain things that are happening at MGA, like elections, hot pieces of legislation, and things like that. But we also want you to be creative and bring information to everybody that they might not think about. People like to do stories sometimes on the trip to MGA and how everybody got there and who traveled the furthest and anything interesting that happened on the way there, if somebody's bus broke down or something like that. So there's always opportunities to be creative and come up with some good angles for stories. We really expect you to interview students from other schools and not just from your own school. In the past, we've noticed that reporters tend to just go to their classmates and don't get any other perspective. So I believe we had said we didn't want you to really get anybody from your own school. If you have to get somebody from your own school, I would only have one person that you interview. But I would focus mostly on people from other groups so that way you're getting a big diversity of opinions out there. We expect you to be at each meeting that you have and communicate through GroupMe. So for those of you that have a cell phone, we're going to go over GroupMe in just a little bit, but I know Megan had put some information about that, I believe, in the email she sent to all of you. We expect you to always be present mentally and physically. So, you all have kind of one of the harder jobs at MGA because you don't have a set schedule necessarily. You have meetings you have to be at, but a lot of the work you're doing is kind of on your own time, and you need to be busy doing MGA work at all times. Sometimes people get a little bit late start when they're a reporter, and they end up towards the end just frantically rushing to try and get stuff done, and they get kind of stressed out. So we want you all to make sure you put some good thought into your stories that you have, because you have several stories that you will need to write. And we want to make sure you have enough time and energy and are focusing on those. And a minimum of 4 stories that you will need to write while you are at MGA. So it's a 3-day program. So I would suggest getting 1 done Thursday and 2 Friday, and 1 Saturday is probably the best way to go. But you're going to strategize all of these things with Megan, who's going to act as your editor for this year. All right, so here is the schedule. If you have the YAP, which is the app, which we'll show you the link for later, you can see all of this in there. So your very first meeting will be at 5 p.m. on Thursday at the hotel. There's a large ballroom on the 2nd floor, and it will be divided in half. One half will be for the lobbyist meeting, and one half will be for the reporters meeting. So if you happen to be in the wrong one, just walk next door to the other one. We're not sure which one will be in which half quite yet. After that meeting, the next thing on the schedule is the opening joint session at 7 o'clock, which one of you will be covering. So that begins at 7, but I suggest you be there by 6:45 to get a good seat. Committee meetings will begin, it says 8 o'clock, but it's a couple minutes after the opening joint session gets out, once everybody gets over to their committee location. So you all can have a strategy meeting. I believe there's a meeting at some point. You all have a headquarters area on the 8th floor of the General Assembly building. You'll have a couple of computers that you'll have access to, but it's also good if some of you can bring laptops and things, but there's tables and chairs and various things so you all can have your media meetings there. At 9:45, you have a reporting session. So whatever you've been covering, you need to have wrapped up and be at the reporting session at 9:45 p.m. on the 8th floor with the rest of the media. And then primary elections are at 10:30 and curfew is right after. And then Friday morning, everybody's session begins at 8:30, but you all have a meeting at 8:15 in the General Assembly building on the 8th floor. So that means you need to leave the hotel no later than 8 a.m. to walk up there. I would actually suggest leaving about 5 or 10 minutes before that, just to make sure you're there in plenty of time. But the meeting will begin right at 8:15, so make sure you're there with plenty of time. And then you can see on Friday, there's a lot of meetings, and then there's a lot of time that there's really nothing scheduled, and that is time for you to go out and interview people, write your stories, take whatever pictures you need, etc. During this time, you can be pulling legislators out of session to talk with them about things for your story. Just make sure you have Post-its or something so you can send a note. On the app, there is there are seating charts that will show you like what the seat numbers are. And there's also rosters that tell you what everybody's seat number is. So if you know you need to talk to a certain person, you can write their name and their seat number on a note and hand it to the college staffer who's in the back of the chamber, and they will deliver that note for you to go get that student out. Just to let you know, the college staffers have been instructed to read all notes to make sure they are germane to MGA business. So make sure you're only pulling people out to talk about things for your stories. You can also talk to the youth governor. His office is on the first floor of the Capitol. He shares an office with the Attorney General, and they each have a staff. So you may not be able to get right in to see the youth governor or the Attorney General, but they do have a staff that should be organizing meetings for you. So if you need to talk with them, go over there and set up a meeting. There's also other people around. There's several volunteers who are around. I do know that we will have 2 legislators on Friday morning who are helping out, and they are both MGA alumni. So that's a great story if somebody wants to interview them and get a perspective on why they come back and volunteer. One of them is Senator Monty Mason, and one of them is Delegate Rob Bloxham. And I believe that Senator Mason was our House Speaker at one point, and I believe that Rob Bloxham held an office as well. So, like I said, that's a great story idea, but there are other adults and volunteers around who you could also be interviewing. Like I said, more meetings. At 2 o'clock is the Youth Governor's press conference. So that is in the Capitol in House Room 2. So you all should be there and come prepared to ask questions of the Youth Governor. In the past, people have asked the Youth Governor about certain pieces of legislation. They've asked the Youth Governor about what he's done throughout his 1-year term as governor, what his favorite parts have been, where he's going to college, etc. Spencer, do you have any other big topics that people usually talk about at the press conference?
This is a good time to, and I think Sharon, you already mentioned this, but I'm going to extend it a little bit. So this is a good time to ask questions about any of the bills that you're covering throughout the process. You can ask the Attorney General and the Youth Governor. Oftentimes they have different opinions on it. And if it's very controversial, a lot of times the Youth Governor or Attorney General is hesitant to get their position on it, either in general or they want to wait until it's sitting on their desk to make a decision. This is a great opportunity for you to get their opinion on it and kind of force them to get an opinion to put in your articles, so people kind of know where the governor is and Attorney General are sitting on their decision in case it comes to their desk. So you can be very influential in the political process in that way.
Definitely. And there will also be adult advisors who are in the room asking questions, as well as there will be student lobbyists who are there asking questions as well. So just a lot of people there asking questions. So like I said, the legislative questions tend to be the more popular kind of questions to ask, but feel free to ask about his term as governor, what he's done. They had an officer retreat and some advocacy days they went to. You can ask about things like that, maybe get some information that will help encourage people to run for office in the future, etc. So then the last meeting that you all have of the day is at 4:45 p.m. On the 8th floor in your reporter area on Friday. So after that on Friday is the banquet. That begins at 6 o'clock. So that's another thing that people can cover. Just figure out, what people like about the food, and there's usually a big chocolate fountain. That's a really hot topic of conversation. Something else that would be a great story this year is our hotel is undergoing renovations. So that would be something interesting to have written up, is about the renovations they're doing and what it's going to be like in the future. At 6:45 are the final elections. So the winners of the primaries the night before will be running for office, and everyone will be voting for our officers for the next year. And then following that, everyone has time to go upstairs and get changed for the Youth Governor's Ball, which begins at 8:30. And after the Youth Governor's Ball is curfew. Saturday morning, you have a meeting at 8:15 again on the 8th floor of the GAB. And then you have some time to go finish up your stories. And then at 10:30 is kind of your final meeting that you all have. We're going to be putting everything together. Everyone will be working on things. And you'll be working on things right up until noon, which is when you go over to the church for the closing ceremony. So that's the schedule for the weekend. Spencer, I think, put up a reminder in the chat. If you have questions anytime, feel free to put them over there in the chat or unmute yourself and ask if you have any questions. All right, so up on the slides, you can see some story ideas. Megan sent you a good list of some story ideas, but here's just some other ones that might be of interest to any of you. I know she asked for you all to send her your topics in an email. I don't know if any of you have done that yet, but if any of you have, feel free to unmute yourself and tell us what your first topic is that you're going to be working on.
I do have one more idea for someone to write.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this might be something you want to publish towards the end of MGA because it doesn't have any relevance to MGA 2017, so for this year. But something you might want to talk about maybe at your last article posting on Saturday or something is about the General Assembly building, how it will not be there next year. We're closing it down and tearing it down. So that might be an interesting conversation to, or an interesting article to, and people have already, you can find other articles already released on that. So you can pull information from them, just be aware of plagiarization. That's a big no-no. So that's another topic.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And that would actually probably be something good to work on Friday because we will have lots more staffers around from the Capitol on Friday. So that would be something you could be working on for the entire time you're there, finish it up on Saturday. But if you're interested, if somebody's doing that, Spencer and I can put you in touch with the clerk's staff from the House and Senate who can give you better information about the closing of the building and what it means. All right, so just make sure, I know several of you probably have been thinking about your topic, so make sure you get all that information to Megan as soon as possible because she's going to make sure that we don't have duplicate topics. So there's just several ideas up there. All right, so like I said, you know, you're responsible for all the pre-work for any articles that you have. So if you're doing an article on preparation for MGA, then you obviously need to be doing some pre-work on that. Any of your first topics that you're going to be writing about, it's probably good to get a little bit of research done in advance. So, you know, talk to some people. If you need to talk to Spencer or myself about things, you can ask us questions. If you have certain bill patrons that you need to talk to, we will be putting the bill tracking sheets on the app probably today or tomorrow. And on there, it will have who the bill patrons for each bill are. And those are people that you could contact if you have specific questions about a piece of legislation in advance. So look out for that coming soon. And like I said, remember that stories do really well if there are photos. So we really want every single story to have photos that go with it that help tell the story as well. Because a lot of people, especially in today's digital age, they will kind of scroll through a story, half reading it, but they're really looking at the pictures to see what kind of story they're getting from the pictures. So you can definitely work on taking some pictures while you're there. All right. So GroupMe, if you're not aware of what GroupMe is, it's an app for your phone. So if you have a smartphone, you can go ahead and download GroupMe. If you don't have a smartphone, it can work as text messages as well, but it's just a way to kind of create a group text for all of you to communicate. So if you are covering a bill that is about to come up and it's time for a strategy meeting, you can use the GroupMe to let Megan know that you'll be a little bit late to the meeting because you're covering a bill that's happening right now. It's also a good way to communicate just other various things. If somebody gets pictures for things that you want, or you know, some other issue that you're having, it's great to be able to communicate with each other. So just use this as your way of communicating between meetings, but the in-person meetings are what's so important for you all to get information to each other. All right, here's social media. So like I said, the Yap is the app that we're using this year. The URL is there, and Spencer has also typed it in the chat. But that's something you type in on your smartphone or on your tablet, and it will download the app. And when you go there, there is a complete schedule. There's a lot of different information on there. So just make sure you download that, and it will have a lot of various information that you need. You can also see our Facebook, our Twitter, and our Instagram up there. And we would love for you all to be giving us pictures and things throughout the weekend. I know that, Humans of New York and, Humans of whatever city are kind of like a big thing. So if you all wanted to do Humans of MGA and do profiles of people, we could do that and put them on social media. If there's just certain things that you take pictures of that you think would be great on social media, again, the GroupMe is a great way to share those, and then Megan can share those with us and make sure we get them out on social media. So make sure you all are following that, and you all can share that as well with your classmates and your friends. And it's also a great way to let your parents and people back home know what it is that you're doing while you're in Richmond. All right, so what to bring? Make sure you bring a pen. You will definitely need something to be, writing various things down. A notepad, like I had said earlier, Post-its or something if you don't want to tear sheets out of your notepad to send notes to people while they're in session would be great. All of you should have received a bill book, I believe, so make sure you bring that with you. You only have one of the teens' bill books probably, but if you need the other one, we can get the other information to you as well. If you have a computer or something that you would like to bring with you, feel free to bring a computer and whatever chargers and things you need with that. That way, all of you can be using computers at various times. I believe there's only 4 that we have access to in the General Assembly building. So if you don't have a computer, don't worry, we'll be able to get you access. If you have a camera, that would be great. The YMCA does have a digital SLR camera that we will have there, but we really would like for you all to bring whatever cameras you're comfortable shooting with, as well as, like I said, even cell phones can take really good pictures nowadays and video as well. Some sort of recorder is also helpful if you're writing stories. If you have a pocket recorder or something, if that's something you already own, that would be great to bring along. You can also use your smartphones to record interviews and things, and that way you've got exact quotes for people. And then a good attitude to bring with you, just to make sure that everybody's having a great experience while we're there. All right, any questions from any of you on anything that we have gone over? You can either unmute yourself to ask or type them in the chat if you have any questions. Spencer, do you have anything to add?
I do not. If I think of anything, I will see you all at your 5 o'clock meeting on Thursday. Well, next Thursday.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate it, and we will send the link out to this webinar later, and make sure you all email Megan with your story ideas soon. Thank you.